Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren out there teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the 144,000, and the rest of the men, women, and children that will receive mercy from the Lord in these last days. I'm the brother Dama Agabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right, and just like that, a famine could be upon Babylon the Great. And you see, in the midst of all of these things that's going on, especially with all these riots, with all these agent provocateurs, with this, up and coming manufactured civil war, all of this, the talk of war, the talk of, all of the craziness and uprisings and chaos and instability and paranoia and, up and coming, T attacks and, uncertainty, people tend to forget just like that. There could be a famine in this land, which we know Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah is going to bring a famine here to Babylon the Great. All right. We know it's going to be manufactured to be made to look like it's a spontaneous, and it was a cyber attack from some outside threat, which we know will be from the inside, because we know these devils want to bring order, have chaos. But it's just to put put you in the mind frame to understand, like, hey, just like this article shows you, at any moment, in the midst of all of this chaos and shit going on, man, hey, a famine could come just like that. And all we need is so-called disruptions in the food supply chain, which could cripple, food distribution. Now, famine can come in one and two ways. It could come from, bad, crops or, terrible weather destroying crops, whether it's too much water, too much rain, or it's too hot, or the crops get scorched or locust or whatever. But also, famine could come in the way of just not having access to these foods. The trucks could stop running. Supply chains could be attacked, like you saw right here in this article, which we know straight up, that these elites and the WEF already said that there's going to be frightening scenarios, and they're planning on catastrophic cyber attacks, which is going to totally destroy and break down the grid. Which I got another article showing you that they're already putting that out there in the news, that the grid is fragile, it's very outdated, it's old, and is vulnerable to being attacked, which we know it is going to be attacked, but not from those that they say is going to be attacked from, like Russia or China or some anonymous threat that we don't know, attack the power, attack the grid. And now, the power is out, and, everything is down. There's no internet. There's no telecommunications. Supply chains are lost, which we know these devils definitely need something like that to bring more chaos and ultimately to bring in this NWO. But these things are on the table, and ultimately it's being done through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And you see, and that's something that's going to really rock these people on top of, everything else that's coming, sedition, civil war, so-called mysterious attacks from the unknown, martial law. Trump might enact this what's that shit called? He might bring in that insurrection act. It could be curfews all over the place. It's going to be all type of confusion, all type of uncertainties, and all type of perplexities going on. And then in the midst of all of that, if they bring a so-called, on top of that, a famine comes, it's going to totally rock and destroy these people that are unstable and unsettled, and that are not, especially our people who don't have their faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see, but these things are all on the table, man. And just like that, things like this are going to just it's going to be more events after events after events. And a lot of these people that are unsettled and unrest, and they got their faith and trust fully in this society, that things are always going to be the way that they are going to be the ones that's going to be the most wrecked and caught off guard, man. Especially when, like, people that depend on medication, people that are dependent upon hospitals, people that are dependent upon, welfare and getting handouts, and their whole livelihoods is dependent upon, this system. And when it goes down, are going to totally, absolutely lose it and go absolutely apeshit, and going to be the, totally in a horrible and sad case, man. But For those of us who are of the household of the elect, who got our faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, hey man, fret not, okay? But I'm gonna show you, just like that, man, hey, a famine can be upon this place, which we know is a prophecy. So it says temporary disruptions, cyber attack on Whole Food supplier sparks store shortages. You see, it says North American grocery wholesaler United Natural Foods, the primary distributor for Whole Food Market, has been hit by a cyber attack that temporarily paralyzed U.S. operations. And remember, a lot of these things are test runs, man. A lot of these things are being done by the powers that be. Ultimately, to gauge how people are gonna react, to gauge, how, to see the reaction of the people, to see, how they're able to further manipulate this and, bring more confusion and more panic upon the people. You see, it says the company is working to restore systems by the weekend. The disruption has already led to efforts of empty shelves at some Whole Foods locations due to supply shipments. And just to show you how fragile, this food supply system is, just one so-called little cyber attack like this can shut down all operations, man. And then once the people get wind of it, they're going to go panic buy. They're going to go rush to the stores and try to get whatever they can get and empty that bitch out. And what do you think is going to happen in the future when this really happens and they're not able to get, things back in order within a day or two? And it's weeks or months when, this thing is down. There's going to be no food coming into these stores, man. It's going to be no deliveries, no trucks running, no nothing. And you know what that's going to lead to, People bashing each other heads in, people dead in the aisles, desperation, hunger, anger, violence, uncertainty, and it's going to show the true nature of these people out here, man. You see, but and the reason why it's going to be so catastrophic because these people are under the impression that this could never really happen here in America like that. Because they think America is always going to be, the land of plenty. People are so accustomed here in America, even a lot of us, the men of the Lord, we're accustomed to having availability of food, A lot of, it's always, this is America. Every time you go to the grocery store, there's literally always something there that you pretty much need. And if it's not at one store, you can probably just drive another mile or two to another store and you can get what you want. But what's going to happen when that's no longer an option? You see, that's when the true nature and the true spirit of these people are going to show. And it's going to be bad out here, man. You see, this is why, through the Spirit, the Lord is prepping and preparing us now, man, to go on fast. I know for myself, I know a lot of other brothers, I eat about one meal a day. I don't really, I don't eat breakfast, lunch and dinner, three square meals every single day, like that. I tend to eat just one meal a day, so that's kind of prepping us to be, not in that spirit of just constantly eating and eating and eating. The average American, 2/3 of our people here, man, they can't go, like a Day of Atonement fast. They'll go crazy, man. They'll lose it. They'll be stressed because they're so used to the availability and the abundance of Babylon that that's all they know. That's why, obesity is so rampant here in this society because a lot of these people are just gluttonous and, a lot of people, especially when they're sad and when they're depressed, they tend to eat more. What do you think is going to happen when that luxury is no longer an option? And these people who are used to just eating at will, eating whenever the opportunity arises, no longer have that option, man. They're going to be totally, through out here, man. All right. This is 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 22. And it says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be empty. You see? And we just got a glimpse of that with this article that I'm reading with the Whole Foods. And I'm going to show you something in the article. It says, and the trumpet shall give a sound, and which every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. And in that case, that trumpet is going to be the sound of famine. Of course, there's different trumpets for different things. When we're out there on the highways and the byways, that's a form of us blowing the trumpet of warning. But hey, pretty soon that trumpet sound of famine is going to hit Babylon the Great America. It's going to be all over the news. Supply shortages. A cyber attack have crippled all telecommunications. The grocery stores are not getting food, and people are going to start catching wind, and people are going to start realizing what's going on, and it's going to be that sound of that trumpet of desperation and incoming famine. And you know how these people are going to move here in Babylon the Great. You know, they're going to be panic buying. People are going to be desperate. People are going to be violent. You know, people are going to be taken from those that have, people are going to be running out of the stores with carts full of shit. People who are out there who are opportunists, hyenas, going to be out there running up on their carts, snatching their shit, fighting, stabbing, and more than likely even shooting one another just to get their daily, just to get what they need, man. And these are all on the ticket here in Babylon the Great. It says, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. You see? And this is when it's going to be a fully on here in Babylon the Great. That's going to be in the midst of time of Jacob's trouble, and when everything here in Babylon is shut down. Remember, Klaus Schwab said a frightening scenario. A catastrophic cyber attack, which is going to just basically shut down everything, and people are going to be out here, fending for themselves. People are going to be crazy. That's still part of the agenda of these elites, man. And we're just getting started with this so-called Summer of Love 2.0, with this whole BLM 2.0. And then this Saturday, talking about all these riots, all of these, protests, which is getting ready to take place. So, hey, man, it's about to be a very hot summer, man. And famine is definitely part of it. It says the company is working to restore systems by the weekend. The disruption has already led to reports of empty shelves at some Whole Food locations due to delayed shipments. You see? It says the incident has caused and is expected to continue to cause temporary disruptions to the company's business operations. The company is working actively to assess, mitigate, and remediate the incident with the assistance of third-party cybersecurity professionals and has noticed law enforcement. You see? Let's look at this. It says, what happened so far? Operations halted. UNFI shut down all business systems, including ordering and shipping, after detecting intruders in its network. You see? So they're not ordering or bringing anything in. So whatever is in that store is what's ever in that store. So, you better go in there and get what you can get while you can get it, because until operations are back up and running and shipments are coming, ain't shit coming there. And they said up until this weekend, and it's barely Thursday. It says, look, forklift operators were sent home and resumed work using pen and paper systems. What else? Yep, look at this. Confirmed supply disruption. Shelves in some Manhattan stores were visibly empty. See? Just like that. A little attack. Look at this. It shows you right here. At Whole Foods just now, lots of shelves empty. Can't even spell fucking right. I asked what's going on. One of the largest food distributors in the U.S. got cyber attacked. That's troubling, for the food supply can be disrupted this way, you see. And these people, it's kind of like that's kind of sucks. That's kind of sad. But what do you think is going to happen when this shit is on a full blown level, man? When, it's not just for a couple of days, but for a month or 2 months. And ain't none of this shit coming in, man. People are going to go absolutely bonkers, man. People are going to go absolutely crazy, man. And people are going to find it, people are going to be holding on to whatever little bit of food that they got. And that's if it doesn't spoil or go rotten when, the major critical cyber attack hits, man. So, hey, man, bad times are definitely coming here to Babylon the Great. And it's all part of prophecy, man. All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 16. I'll read it in the NLT. It says, then he, let me see. Then he told me, son of man, I will make food very scarce in Jerusalem. All right, and we know that Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. It says, and this is talking about, we can apply this to now, because we know that the time of famine is coming here to Babylon the Great for sure. It says, it will be weighed out with great care and eaten fearfully. You see, that's how bad it's going to get out here. When, like I said, when they bring one of these major cyber attacks and the whole supply chain is disrupted, and people know that whatever you got on hand is all that you're going to have, when, people loot and people riot and people, storm these stores and panic buy and just raid everything, and there's nothing left in the store. Hey, whatever you have on deck is what you're going to have on deck, and you're going to eat that scarcely, man. All right. You're going to have a pack of noodles. You're going to have to split that, 4 or 5 ways, depending on how big your household is, man. And and it says you're going to eat it in fear because what? You don't know what your neighbors might have or might not have. You don't know who's watching. Shit, niggas gonna be so hungry. You cook a pack of noodles, their sitting's gonna be so heightened because they ain't eaten 4 or 5 days. They're gonna smell that pack of ramen you cooking around the goddamn corner, man, and be at your door, beating on the door, looking through the windows. Asking what you got. Your neighbors are gonna say, "Look, man, my family's hungry, man. What you got? You got food? I know you got something. I can smell it. Come on, Roger." You know. And you're going to have to brush them away, tell them you ain't got enough. It's only enough for us, man. Hey, and then, once you shoo them away, now you're going to be eating it fearfully because in the back of your mind, you're going to be thinking, I know that nigga going to come in here in the middle of the night, try to come in here and get whatever he can get. Like I said, friends are going to fight one another's like neighbors. So all hell's getting ready to break loose here in Babylon the Great, man. And we've been telling and warning you, Jake, that these days are coming. All right. And if you ain't right with Yahweh Shem Yahushai, if you don't have that hedge of protection, you don't have the faith in the Most High that all is going to be well. And, you have faith that the Lord can take care of you, man. Hate to be you in that day, man. It says the water will be rationed out by drop, and the people will drink it with dismay. It says lacking food and water, people will look at one another in terror, and they will waste away under their punishment. You see, people, people going to get to the point to where, cannibalism is going to become a thing. That's how bad it's going to get out here. And if you don't think that could ever happen here in Babylon the Great, then you don't know what time it is. You don't know the true nature of people. If they go long enough without food and water, they'll eat just about any goddamn thing. And we saw, if you know history about Israel and Masada, read that history. You'll get a glimpse of just how bad it got, for Israel when, we were caught up in the siege of the Romans. What we had to resort to. People are going to sodden their children, boil their babies, man. I remember I did a lesson years ago about over there in during World War I or World War II. This guy, he had a family. It was him and like his 3 children. And his neighbors noticed that they hadn't seen the kids in about a couple weeks, and they was wondering, they was worried, and they went to his door and they was questioning him. And then eventually, he ended up breaking down saying, all right, you want to know the truth? I ate my fucking children. I buried them in the backyard. And he's told the people, if you don't get the fuck out of my house, I'm going to eat your ass too. You see, and that's a true story of what was happening during, I think it was either World War I or World War II, how bad the famine got. And you think these crazy ass Babylonians, these crazy ass Americans won't resort to that level? Then you don't know the nature of people, man. All right. It's going to get bad out here, man. Real bad, And like I said, man, you don't not want to be on the side of Yahweh Shem Yahushai when these things come. I mean, you want to be on the side of Yahweh Shem Yahushai when these things come, because it's going to get that bad out here, man. Do I want that one? Let me get this. This is the cure for anxiety, Matthew 6:25. It says, therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? You see, and this is something that carnal 2/3 of our people are going to fail to rely on in that day, because our people are carnal. They always worried about what they're going to drink, what they're going to eat, what they're going to wear, because they really don't have faith that these things are truly supplied by Yahweh Shem Yahushai. A lot of our people think this is, that this can only come through Esau, Edom, through the white man, through money, through this, through these other carnal means. But their faith in receiving these things is not fully in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. That's why when this time comes, they're going to fold. They're going to lose it. They're going to go crazy out here. And eventually they're going to go and take that MOTB, because once Esau let this system collapse and all hell breaks loose, he's going to come with the solution and with the answers and with a solution to end your suffering and your hunger and your thirst and your and all the chaos and all the the perplexity with that MOTB, with this new digital beast system. And a lot of the people, when they're beyond desperate, and when they've been out here just living in a Mad Max type world, when these things are presented, they're gonna jump all over it, man. They're gonna be like, the hell with a guy. Where was he when I had to eat my daughter? Where was he when we were thirsty? Where were he when we was running for our lives and all hell was breaking loose and we was there was no food coming in? They're gonna be cursing the Most High during those times, because their faith is not truly in him. It says, behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. You see, the Most High is the one that feed us, man. And if you don't understand that, and your belief is that it comes from any other means outside of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, then you're finished, man. There's nothing that there's nothing, you're just through. All right. It says, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? You see, but that type of thinking is going to go out the window of the average 2/3 Jake, or even these average American citizens out here when they're in perplexity. Like I said, when they're down and out, when they haven't eaten in 4 or 5 days, when they're starving to the point to where, their neighbor or even their kids is looking like a goddamn a hot and ready meal, they ain't going to be thinking like that. They're going to be thinking, the Lord don't want us. The Lord hate us, man. He forsaken us. Fuck it. Do what I got to do, It says, which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature? And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. Yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all of his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe ye, O ye of little faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek, for your heavenly Father knoweth what ye have need of all these things, you see? So when these days of famine come, man, hey, that's when faith is going to be a must. That's why, being prepared and prepping yourself now for these times that are ahead, knowing that when things seems lost and when all hell is breaking loose and, that little bit of food that you may have in your refrigerator is going to run out, man. Hey, know that the Heavenly Father is feeding the birds and all the animals and things that are of less importance than you. You don't think he's going to feed you, but you got to have faith and believe, man. And there's nothing impossible with Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. Hey, you could be running out of water and food, and you can have one of those little 5-gallon jugs of water in your house, and all of a sudden, man, hey, when it gets down to a little bit left, you might wake up the next day. That shit can be full, man. All through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. But that's going to take faith. Do you believe that the Lord is capable of doing that? Do you believe that even in our direst of moments that the Most High is not going to leave you out there to dry if you've been serving and doing what he's been commanding you to do? You see? So let me get this one right here. It says, look at it. It says EMP threat, prepping for the moment the power grid collapse. And we know this is going to happen because this is part of the elite's agenda, man. You see? But like I said, this is when faith is going to have to be at an all-time high, man. This is why you can't be worried about what Esau can do. You got to be worried about what Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai can do. Let me see something. It says an EMP, whether from a high altitude nuclear detonation or a severe geomagnetic disturbance caused by a solar storm, floods the atmosphere with a surge of electromagnetic energy, frying microchips, crippling utilities, and silencing power grids. The Department of Homeland Security National Risk Management Centers estimates recovery from a catastrophic EMP could take years, with societal collapse compounding the crisis. You see, but I don't believe it's going to be from an EMP attack because I think, it'll take too long for them to get shit back running. I think they're just going to collapse it from other means. They might say it was an EMP, but we know these devils are going to do this and they are going to let chaos ensue for a certain amount of time, man, which is going to bring what? Societal collapse, famine, drought, chaos, some other things in this article I'm going to show you. Let me see something. Here we go. It says the hidden vulnerabilities of modern life. The instant collapse of key systems threatens to erase 21st century conveniences, you see? And that's what these people are so accustomed to. Like I said earlier, their everyday conveniences, man. Like I said, and we're all victims of convenience here in Babylon the Great because, America is a very rich society. There's always an abundance of every fucking thing. If it ain't at one store, it's definitely in another store, even to the point to where even homeless people here eat better than the average third world country people. Because what? They're always somebody who's not going to finish that hot dog, or somebody who's always going to order some food and may not like it. And you have the luxury of just throwing that shit in the trash because it wasn't hot enough, or it wasn't cold enough, or it wasn't enough salt on it, or whatever. People just throw food away. Even these grocery stores, man. You know how much food they waste on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, they just throw away because it's past the expiration date, but it's still good enough to eat. They'll just throw it inside of the dumpsters, man. And if one is so inclined, hey, you can go back there if you're homeless and you hungry. You can get you a whole goddamn meal, man. You see, but eventually a dumpster diving is going to become a luxury and a delicacy. And even that's going to run out eventually. You see? It says, if the grid fails, hospitals lose life support systems, refrigerated food spoil, and fuel pumps stop all in 1 second. You see? And this is when friends are going to fight one another's like enemies, man. This is when the true nature of people is going to show when this take place. And we know these elites have this on the table, man. And like I said, and it's something that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai wants, you know? Let me get that, man. For the lack of bread in Ezra's lack. Here we go. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse it says 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right. That's going to lead to what? This coming civil war. Hey, this is what is about to fully come to pass, Lord willing, starting this weekend with this whole BLM 2.0. You know, with this whole ICE situation, you know. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. How much more when an EMP attack and all systems collapse, man? This is going to be an everyday average thing taking place. It says, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. See? A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. See? Lack of bread, which is what? Great famine, which they're telling you these cyber attacks and these situations that are coming are going to bring, man. Read that again. If the grid fails, hospitals lose life support systems, refrigerated food spoil, and fuel pumps stop all in 1 second, said Mark Hager, a prepping blogger, emphasizing the need for a Faraday shielding and analog tubes. See, look at this. Prepping essentials. It says food and water, stockpile, shelf staples like white rice, canned fish, and honey, plus filtration systems. But, you know, not everybody is able to have these things on deck, especially the financial situation that a lot of people are in. You know, what else is this? Security. It says non-lethal deterrence, including fortified homes, alliances with local groups, and non-computerized firearms, which that's, you know, you got some people that are trying to do that. But, you know, people that do that, hey, even they're going to be under attack, man. Because what? You're going to have the have-nots that's going to be looking to take from the haves, you know? What else does it say? Societal collapse and leadership challenges. Blah, blah, blah. It says preparedness in the ultimate defense against the invisible storm. Look, our defense is in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, man. Remember the names of Yahweh. Oh, well, let me read this, and I got a preset. It says an EMP attack consequences are irreversible within seconds, making hindsight useless. Individual and institutional preparedness, right? Because you can prep and be, you know, ready all you want to, but until you're actually in the thick of the shit and when it's actually happening and real time scenarios are happening, hey, you better hope all that training and shooting and prepping that you prep for, you know, all comes together, man. Because not everybody, you know, when it really happens, a lot of people that are not built for that, they're going to fold, they're going to fumble. So you can prepare and prep all you want to and go shooting. But hey, when it's actual time for you to have to actually shoot, and it's a actual moving target, and it's actual motherfuckers really coming at you with a rage and fury and starvation in their eyes and desperation, man. Hey, some people crack under that pressure, and everything that you prepped and prepared for might be in the hands of some fucking marauders or some group of hungry, hungry Jakes, man, or some other group of crazies, But like I said, hey, but our faith is in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. He's our plan A, B, C, D, Z, man. We're not prepping, of course. Now it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a little bit of extra food. That's what I do when I go to the grocery store. Like sometimes I'll just buy an extra, even if I don't use it, I'll just go always try to buy like a can of beans, a can of corn, a can of something, some type of canned food, and just put it in the cabinet. I'm not going to eat it, but hey, I just keep it just to have it, because you just never, it ain't wicked to have a little something extra, but we ain't prepping like these preppers with a damn bunker with 4 years worth of food down there, because our faith is not in those things. It's not in having 200 guns and 100,000 rounds of ammunition. Our faith is in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, that he's going to be our guide. He's going to be our shield and our buckler and a defense from these days that are ahead, But it says an EMP attack consequences are irreversible within seconds, making hindsight useless. Individual and institutional preparedness, though overshadowed by headlines, is the only defense. No, the true defense is in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Now, having gold and silver, yeah, it might be able to do a little something for you, at some point, but eventually, hey, none of that shit is going to be worth a goddamn, man. Only, the hedge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is going to be able to hold you. And this is Isaiah chapter 65, verse 13. Therefore saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. It's talking to 2/3 of our people, man. All right, that refuse to repent and serve Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai in these last days, man. Hey, you're going to be ashamed in that day, man. All right, you Jake, that got your faith in this system and in Babylon and in Trump and in America and in your prepping and in your guns and in your paper dollars, and your gold and silver or whatever it is you might be trusting in. You're all going to be ashamed in that day, because your main source of faith and trust wasn't in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It says, behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right, because a lot of you, Jake, are going to know when that day come why that's happened unto you, man. You're going to think about the prophets. You're going to think about the videos you were typing and scoffing and talking shit. That when you drove by the prophets and the men of the Lord, you had evil and negative thoughts. All of your stupid ass TikTok videos where you were talking shit and calling us crazy and calling us false this and false that and mocking the prophets. Hey, the Lord's going to run that through your mind when you're suffering, man. When your babies and kids are crying and starving and ain't nothing that you can do, to stop that crying and that hunger and that pain, man. You're gonna be ashamed in that day. It says, behold, I read that slucky. It says, and ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Lord Yahweh shall slay thee and call his servants by another name. You see? So, hey man, these things are all getting ready to come down upon this place, man. And we've been warning and telling you, Jake, to prepare, righteously, spiritually with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai before these days come. We've been blowing the trumpet. We've been telling you. We've been warning you. And, hey, these days are just right around the corner and could be here soon, man. So with that, I'm going to close it there. Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit in me to do this lesson. Lord willing, you were edified. To the next one, shalom.